Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Coinex and I'm so happy to have you guys back here on Coinex the Producer. Today's video is gonna be about us discussing the list of things that should be done on your mix before taking it out for mastering, or if you're the person that is gonna master your song before you start mastering. The actual reason for this video is to help each and every one of us, culture this habit of patiently and carefully handling your projects and all the stages that are involved to achieve a professional and good sounding record. So this video hopefully will be something everyone is gonna benefit from, because it's gonna kind of refresh these whole techniques in your mind. I believe many know this, but the point of this video is like from my own perspective, from my own point of view. Sometimes you know a lot that at some point you see yourself not even remembering the things you know that has been working for you for so many years, So this video is more like pressing a pause, going back to your drawing table, going through all those lessons, tutorials, tricks that you've tried out that worked for you, understanding them again, keeping them alive in your memory, and going back into the studio. So having said this, let's dive right into the tutorial for today. So number one on the list will be, we're gonna take it back to that point where you started thinking of the kind of song you're gonna make if you are to produce for yourself, or the moment you start thinking of the concept to suit the song the client came to your studio with. So what I'm trying to say is, we're gonna take it all the way back from there. What are the things we should put into consideration? Let's start from saying, make sure that the choices you're gonna make, both on sound selection, the type of VSTs you're gonna use, are your approach to the production. Make sure you take your time and patiently select all those things, because to be honest with you, for a record to come out amazing, it all depends on what you put into it, because you can't just compile junk of samples or whatever you have and you expect your record to sound so cool and nice. No, it doesn't work that way, no matter the mixing, no matter the mastering skill. So the number one on the list should be making sure that both your sound selection, your arrangements, everything, make sure that you carefully select them, arrange them. Don't be in a hurry. Train yourself to be patient. Yes, I understand that in some cases you're trying to finish up so as not to exhaust the time you have in the studio for those working in a rented studio. I understand, but there is another way you can, manipulate and maneuver that without wasting much of your time. Practice at home. You have your laptop, you have your little DAW at home. Practice. Try to put everything in place, because you know that you've paid for a session in the studio and it's not cheap, it's expensive. So get yourself ready first at home, or wherever you have access and free time to do whatever you can do there. Get everything arranged. Get a book, write down the pattern. If you have to make a beat, you tell yourself, this is the structure, this is how I want the beats to be, this is that, I want it to be 4 bars. Break it down so that when you now go to the professional studio where you've already paid for the section, you have a reference, you have something to look at and know what to do, and by so doing you're saving yourself time in the studio. So having said this out of the way, we'll go to the second on the list. The second thing on the list is, do not use any form of processing, especially limiter, on your entire mix before sending it out for mastering. Even when you go to professional studios, engineers there that will be mastering your song will also tell you that, get me a copy of your mix with nothing on the master channel. So it is advisable, if you are going to send out your track for mastering by another engineer, it is advisable not to add any limiter on the master channel. And there are huge reasons for this, because at the end of the day, when you add limiter at the master channel and you write it and send it to them, the engineer over there can't split it anymore, because remember, it's just a single wave file you sent to them. Everything has already been embedded into that file. So there are technical reasons for this, which we are not going to talk about here, as the topic of this video is about list of things you are expected to put in place in your mix before sending it out for mastering. So the first, as I said, during the production, the sequencing stage, try and make good choices on the sample, the tone generators you're gonna use, your arrangement and all that. Second is try not to use any limiter on your master bus before sending it out. It's fine, you can add limiter during the mixing to know how it will sound with a limiter, like have a pre-idea of how limiter will affect your entire mix, which is also a good thing to guide you on what and what not to do during the mixing session. But once you're done with that, with the mixing, remember to turn it off, to disconnect it entirely. So that will be it. The number 3 on the list is try as much as possible to render your mix with the same sample rates you recorded or produced that record. Highly recommended. If you produced your track with 4400 and let's say 16 bits, make sure once you're done mixing, render it on that same sample rate and bit rate. Highly recommended. Don't try to convert or render in a higher sample rate or bit rate. The truth about it is, since you did not produce it on that sample rate, since you did not take your vocal recordings, your guitar recordings on that sample rate, changing it, converting it when exporting or rendering doesn't even make any effect. Rather, it's gonna destroy to an extent your entire record, especially when it gets to the mastering stage. So try as much as possible to avoid rendering your entire mix on a different sample and bit rate, which is not what you produced or you recorded that track on. So number 4 on the list will be patient enough to get the best that you can during mixing. Mixing, I mean balancing. For example, pay close attention to listen to understand which instrument is too loud, which one is too low. Try as much as possible to have an even, nice and clean mix. And the beautiful thing about it is, currently, these days, there are a whole lot of plugins, a whole lot that is out there that gives you the ability to have a very good, well balanced, evened out mix. The reason for this is, when you do your mixing and after you must have finished mixing and you send it out, let's say for example you have a clav instrument or a snare drum somewhere that is a little bit louder and causing that frequency within that region to poke out more. When they get to mastering, of course, the engineer knows what to do. He can actually use EQ to cut it down. But mind you, when doing that, there are other informations from other instruments that resides on that particular frequency that he's cutting off. So when you cut off to control that snare, there are other instruments you're cutting down, and when you're cutting that down, it's also affecting their volume, which will as well alter the balance in your entire mix. So to avoid all this, it's advisable to make out time to achieve even and clean balance in your mix. So many tricks on ways you can achieve that. On your master out, you can insert a frequency analyzer to watch what is going on and see the level. Today we have tonal balance control by Isotope and many other companies. You can put it there, choose a reference graph shape that is in the same genre of the track you're working on. Use it as a guide to achieve a very balanced mix. So if you really invest time to study, to understand all these plugins, you will discover yourself it's gonna be a whole lot easier for you to achieve a very good balanced mix. So it's not really a problem or a difficult task these days to achieve a very balanced mix. All you need to do is to pay close attention and be patient. That's out of the way. The next thing we'll be talking about is, it's in line with the balancing that I said earlier. Try as much as possible to check your low end. So with the spectrum analyzer, it's a good tool that will help you to know when your low end is going above or when it's too low. So try as much as possible to control your low end, because if you have a mix that has a fat low end, like the low end is so big, during the mastering process it's really gonna be a problem for the quality of your mix. It's always recommended to check all these things. There are tools to do that. Like I said, tonal balance by Isotope is another good handy one you can use, because when you're looking at it, it has this graph that it will show you when you exceed the level you're not supposed to, or when you're way below. So just one moment, I'm gonna call it up to show you what I'm trying to explain. There we have it. So let's say, for example, let's say you're working on a reggae track. Now, as you can see the graph, the recommended graph shape, or whatever you call it, and mind you, all this list of genre listed here is something the professionally prepared. I don't know how they did this, but I know they must have gone through series of technical and professional approach to be able to say, okay, using this you have a good clean balance in your mix. So this here will now help you to know when the kick drum or the bass instrument is loud or too loud. As you can see, I played the kick drum and that's the graph. So let's say you are mixing your bass and your kick, you try as much as possible not to let it be like this. It must be in between these two lines. It will follow the line that is a little bit bright, like it's lighting up. So if you do your mix and it follows this line, then you are good to go. It will interpret so well on almost every device you play it back from. That will be it for that. So after checking your low end, also look at the coloration, which is here, which should be plus. It should be hitting plus and not minus. When it's going minus, that means there is a phase issue going on. So try as much as possible to pay close attention to your low end and your coloration. So that will be it for that. The next on the list will be invest time in treating your vocals, since it is one of the most important instruments in the song. Make out time to check your vocals. What I mean is, go for excessive breath, clicks, pops, hiss, hums, and remember to use crossfaders when you are comping your vocals. Comping, I mean, is when you're trying to merge different vocals together, like when you're trying to put together different takes. Remember to engage crossfaders so that you will not encounter clicks in your vocals. And like I said, invest time. Make out time to go through all those things and get them fixed. There are so many plugins, there are so many tools to take care of clicks, pops, hiss, hums, and it is out there. So try as much as possible to get to know about all those tools, understand how it works, and use them when necessary. The next on the list will be critically listen to the entire mix from start to finish, like as many times that you can. Change your sitting positions, leave the room, take some breaks, come back, listen to them again. The reason for this is due to ear fatigue. You might not really hear errors or issues with the mix, so it's advisable to take some break, go out, leave the room, come back, listen to it, and when listening, try to change your positions. You can open up the studio door, go far and listen. Really invest time to listen through to see things that are not sitting right, because personally I've actually experienced that. Sometimes I'll finish my mix, but the next time I'm playing it, I'm like, oh my god, the hi-hat was really high over here, or was really too loud over here, and you see yourself making those corrections. So that is what this point is talking about. Critically listen to your track to look for issues and fix them before taking your mix for mastering. And the second to the last on this list is try as much as possible to leave enough headroom so that the mastering engineer will have enough room to really master your work. It is highly recommended to leave enough headroom. Do not try to allow your meter to be reading around 3 dB. Sometimes I see myself going down to 6 dB headroom, minus as I'm showing you here within this region, or sometimes below it, depending. So it is highly recommended, because when you don't have enough headroom, the mastering engineer will not have enough room to pop out or boost your sound to attain that set or level for your song. And depending on the genre and also the platform where they're gonna distribute this record, so it is important to give enough headroom that the mastering engineer will work with. And finally, before you take out your mix to any engineer for mastering, be patient enough to try out that mix on variety of playback devices. Try it out on your laptop speakers, on your studio monitors. If you have 2 to 3 studio monitors, try them all there. Your earpod, your car, your home theater, just try to have an idea of how it's gonna sound on all these devices, your phone. And when listening through, make your notes. Always make your notes. Always have your paper and your biro to make your notes. When you hear anything that is not okay, write it down, go back to the studio, fix it, render again, play it through. Believe you me, when you put all these things into consideration and apply them in your production, you are halfway to achieving that professional sounding record. And by the time you're done and send it out to the mastering engineer, it's gonna be easy peasy for him. And at the end of the day, the record will shine. Believe you me, it will shine. So I hope this helped you guys out there. I just wanted to drop this to remind us and refresh our mind, including myself. So if you have any question, or if you have a particular kind of video tutorial you want me to make, just feel free to leave it in the comment section. And if you're new to this channel, please kindly subscribe and remember to turn on the notification bell. And if you're a returning subscriber, I appreciate you, and I say we keep making music. So stay safe, stay creative, stay blessed, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.